puns, we save them, and like sometimes I save them as well for distribution, because also I think, you know, like sometimes when things are bad, just some silly, not silly, but like puns and things, they just, I don't know, they make the world a better place, I think.
Well, they're certainly refreshing as far as I'm concerned, because, you know, obviously at the moment it's been a bit, how can we say?
Yes, it's trying, isn't it? And like today, I'm just really, that the US the election results, I'm just really worried because but it's no point in, what can I do about it? Nothing. I can't do anything about it. But it's that thing of, if it's a bit like the last election we had, that when we deliberately choose something that shows that as a society we're just really unkind and uncaring, that's awful, isn't it? It's not about one man, it's about the way we view the world. So
Yes, well, we are now live on Facebook.
hello, Facebook land.
But not like public Facebook. We're live in the group on Facebook. So I'm just going to press record and I'm going to introduce you, if that's all right, and kind of, because I want this to go on my podcast, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to start like, and at least look like I'm a bit professional.
Good.
All right. Okay. So welcome. This is Charli Wall from my podcast. It's called Courage, Dear Heart. And I'm joined today by the lovely Steph Lott, who has been a member of my She Connects Circle group from the very beginning. So welcome, Steph.
Thank you for having me, Charli.
It's a pleasure. Can you tell the listeners and the women in the group a little bit about you?
Yeah, so I live and work in Cambridge. I work for the University of Cambridge. What do I do? I like walking in the countryside. I help look after a dog for a disabled lady, so I walk her 3 times a week. I'm really into fitness. I weight train, circuit train a lot, and I particularly in the last few years have got into boxing and weight training. I suppose one of the reasons that I ended up linking up with Charli was because I've always been heavy ever since I was a child. I wouldn't say that I've ever been. I think my father used to call me chunky, and I think that's probably what I was like. But I was always fit and very strong. But I think I suffered in my childhood from my mother so I was the last of 6, so she was 46 when she had me, and my brothers and sisters are very sort of spaced out in age. So I've got a sister who's 25 years older than me, and then we go down in quite wide areas. But my mother, I don't think, really understood me terribly well as a child. I was the last of 6. My sisters were all kind of glamorous, and so was my mother. And as a child, I was always in the countryside stomping about and heaving stuff about because I had horses, and I suppose I identified much more with my father than my mother. And it meant that my mother used to worry about me being heavy, and she didn't really identify with me being strong and healthy. She worried about the fact that I wasn't slim and didn't fit her picture, I suppose, her paradigm of what women should be. So I think I grew up thinking that there was something wrong with me, that I should be thinner, I should be more feminine, whatever that meant. But from my father's side, my father physically was very, very like me, strong, healthy, stocky sort of thing. And he never gave me any indication that he thought there was anything wrong with me at all. But in terms of my identification as a woman, I struggled, I think. And so I think all through my life, I thought that I need to be thinner. I was never a serial dieter. I just used to beat myself up all the time that I wasn't thinner. I think I didn't go on these, I didn't have any eating disorders or anything like that. I just thought that there was something wrong. And then in 2013, I finally managed to lose weight. I lost about 4 stone. But I've always in my whole life been really fit. So played a lot of sport, played rugby, weight trained, all of that kind of thing. When I lost, and I did it through a very sensible food plan, but it was basically, I suppose it was kind of, it was based upon high protein, low carbs, but it was all, natural food. It was all, not, and it was, I didn't have to join Weight Watchers or anything like that. It was just that. And I finally thought I'd cracked it. I finally thought, right, I know what I'm doing. And I got slimmer, and I got fitter, faster. And I thought, that's it now, I've understood. And then 2 things hit me. One, I had a knee injury. I tore my meniscus on my right knee, and my world just fell apart because I thought, I can't go to the gym. I'm losing ground. I used to have this thing of, if I wasn't in the gym 5 or 6 days a week, I was losing ground, and it would, it would happen immediately. And then the other thing that happened was the menopause hit. And then suddenly, I think if I'd been at war with my body before, when menopause hit, it got worse because there's all the physical and the emotional changes that take place. So it's this feeling of you're suddenly overtaken. Like I'd had these random moods of being really angry, really weepy, and they would come upon me and I wouldn't know what was wrong. I haven't suffered from any of the things like brain fog or memory loss or anything like that. Hot flashes, again, where you're just kind of possessed by this thing. And all of these things put together, Charlie's nodding because she knows what I mean.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
And it is the weird, and you can't, so anyone who a woman who hasn't been through it, or a man, they just cannot understand how weird it feels, because it feels like your body has been taken over and it doesn't belong to you anymore. And it's like this kind of schism between the person inhabiting your head and something else that's going on. And my, the weight gradually went back on, and all the things that had worked before just didn't work anymore. And I was just becoming I realized increasingly anxious, increasingly at war with my own body, this kind of thing. And it wasn't until, so I think there's been 3 things that have linked up to mean that I'm a lot less anxious than I was before. One is the 3 principles work that I've done with you, Charlie. That has really, really helped. This feeling of you're not broken. There's nothing wrong with you. Things are the way they're supposed to be. And actually this thing about your body is just doing what it's programmed to do. It's not, there's nobody evil in you trying to kind of, like deviate you from your path. It is just your body's doing what it's supposed to do. And then the other thing that really helped me was the chimp paradox, and that understanding of the more primitive brain inside you.
Yeah.
That's again doing what it's supposed to do to protect you, and realizing that you can cope with that, but it's about just a level of acceptance, of breathing, of just calming down. There isn't anything you need to, because I remember, joining this this group that it was, a lot to do with nutrition and health and everything, but it's predicated upon the fact there is something wrong with you and you need to fix it. Well, what if there isn't anything wrong with you? What if actually what you need to do is just breathe, slow down, and accept that, treat yourself and your body as a friend rather than an enemy, if that makes sense?
Yeah, well, I'm wondering how much of that message that there's something wrong with you, especially as a female, in terms of psychologically, mentally, physically is out there, is prevalent in our society. And I'm wondering how much of that you'd picked up on prior to coming across the work.
Because it's that thing of, you know, we're sold these models of what women should be and what they should look like and what they should do. And it's this thing of, you know, if you just try a bit harder, everything would be fine. You know, you can have the perfect children, the perfect husband, the perfect house, the perfect job, and you can be really happy. And if you just need to try a bit harder, you know, and then it will be all right. And actually it's a lie. It's a lie. You know, I see it a lot in my job. I work in HR, and I see women where it's like they believe that they are expected to be able to cope with a job and with children. And it's, you know, to be told that you can have it all is just I don't want to say that it's a lie exactly, but it's not that easy. And something has to give, I think.
And I think in women, it's very often from anxiety and from stress. It's the physical symptoms and tiredness and all of those symptoms that start to come out, especially as we get a bit older and your body's a bit more sensitive to that stuff. So how would you come across me originally? Can you remember? I can, but I wonder if you can.
No, I can't actually. I've known you forever. No, how did?
Well, I'm sure it was a spinning class. I'm sure it was like some spinning class somewhere.
I knew you before that.
Oh, did you?
The very first time that we actually met was you organised a...
was it the fighting thing with Ryan?
Yes, it was the... there was a Thai boxing and...
Yeah.
And I absolutely bloody loved it, except I knackered my leg and you had to massage me so I could carry on with the rest of it. So there was that. I'm sure it was something to do with the boot camps, and somebody told me about you. I'm sure I know what it was. There was a lady who used to come to Boxercise, and she was slim and she was blonde, and she told me about you. And she said that why she liked it was about a safe space for women to exercise and feel safe in being a female only space. And that's where she told me. So I looked you up, and then I think I lurked for a while, and then I went to that one day workshop thing. And then did you come to a spinning class once?
Yeah, I think when oh gosh, what's his name now? He runs the F45. Callum was
yes.
And I loved Callum, and I got Callum to come and work with me.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, small world.
It is a small world. So then you joined the Circle group when it started and it launched, which was May 2019. Can you remember what made you join at the time?
I think it was there was something different in the message that you were giving. And I think it was the difference. It was because I think you'd gone on your retreat to India, and you'd come back and and I think I was very curious about your journey, how you were changing. And I think I was curious about that. But it was also, I'd heard about the 3 principles from somebody else. And I think it was that kind of lured me in. But you've also been really, because I think when she explained to me, my friend explained to me about the 3 principles, it didn't make any sense to me. And it also seemed to be the way that she pronounced it was, well, you know, the things you think, they aren't real, so they're not important. And that's just not true. But it's you were able to explain it in a way that I could understand what it means, that it's about the internal and external reality of, and the fact that you make things mean something when they don't necessarily mean that. It's what, and again, this thing about that thoughts are like weather, they pass. That isn't permanent. It's just a thing that it's transition, isn't it?
Yeah, so that's what got you interested. And then what did you get out of being part of the Circle?
So I think there were a few things. I used to like listening to you riffing on a theme and talking. And I used to like watching you laugh about stuff, because also the other thing is lots of people who work in coaching, they just take themselves very, very seriously. And it's not to say that you aren't serious in what you do, because you are, but it's also that very human thing of, life isn't perfect for all of us all the time, and we don't have to portray a perfect image to be accepted. It's okay to come as ourselves, to come as we are. So that was one thing I used to really like. That I liked all the units of different understanding that you did. And I found the workouts that you did, that was also really key to me, because I still don't fully understand this, but I know that I can't hammer myself the way that I used to. I used to be able to work out really, really hard 6 days a week. And it honestly didn't do me any harm. I didn't have any injuries. It didn't, I just loved it. And I could recover so easily, never felt exhausted or anything like that. I've come to understand that in terms of what's going on with cortisol and adrenaline, when you're in menopause, it's not a good thing to be doing that to yourself, because I think everything is so out of kilter that requiring more adrenaline just makes other things worse. Like there's evidence, isn't there, to suggest that hot flushes are improved if you can calm down. And I definitely think that's the case, that certainly if I'm feeling that someone is aggressing me or stressing me or irritating me, I can feel it will bring on a hot flush sometimes.
Yeah.
And too close proximity to me of people can sometimes kick it off. It's that thing. So I think doing those workouts where it's still really good, because like some of the exercises that you did were fantastic for my mobility, for for movement, but it doesn't have to be hammering yourself to do you some good. And that was also a message of your body's changing. You need to think about that and think about how it feels. And I think when you were talking also about yourself, when there are some days where you've had various reactions and things where you just can't do it, so you do something else, you move, or you meditate, or you do yoga. It doesn't have to be hammered to be okay, to be good enough.
And I think that's been a huge learning for me too, Steph, because I, like you, would exercise, CrossFit, strength training, like the bigger the better, and pull-ups, and sprint, anything, kettlebells, like anything that was mental. And I remember someone saying to me, you really should do yoga. I was like, don't be silly, like that's like the worst thing for me. And I remember trying it and just thinking, do you know what I remember thinking is just, this was too emotional. I can't sit still. I don't want to breathe, and it's making me cry. And that made me uncomfortable. Yes. And I ran and then kept running away from it until I was sort of brought to my knees physically and by life. And actually that's very interesting to me now, because the running away from emotion is what we tend to do again, which causes the stress response, which causes the adrenaline, which of course we need the breathing and the slowing down.
Yoga I've gone on various yoga holidays in my life, and I went with a really good friend of mine who's a teacher, and I think I am her worst pupil, because when she's going, lie there and breathe, and I'm going, yes, but why do we have to do? And it's because I'm stiff and strong. Yoga's not that comfortable for me, and it makes me cry a lot. It's wordless, and it comes from nowhere, and it's really, really odd. And I went on a kind of a yoga retreat thing with a load of strangers, and I've had the yoga teacher sit and hold my hand while I'm just crying, and I don't know why I am, but you just have to let that happen. But it's I found Tai Chi a lot easier, because it's kind of, it's less holding and more moving, and I think that I find the meditation of moving easier to do.
So what would you say, like, to someone who is considering joining the community, what would you say has been your biggest takeaway or gain from it?
That there isn't anything wrong with you. That despite the fact that the media will tell you, if you just buy this, if you just become this, if you just change, then everything will magically be perfect. And it won't, because there's nothing wrong with you. And actually, you know, the things that your body does, it does because that's what it's built to do. So if you're suffering from feeling that, you know, there is something wrong with your body, well, it's just doing what it's supposed to do, you know, and it's trying to protect you and nurture you and survive. And so it's the thing about learning a degree of acceptance. I think that's what I would take away. And it's like, you know, the mantras that you say about, you know, you're enough and there isn't anything wrong with you, you aren't broken. That's what I would take away.
And what's been the impact of that deep kind of acceptance for yourself? What's been the impact on your life?
A sort of strange image that I have really is I came to understand that we're like horses. So nobody looks at a Shetland pony, do they, and go, well, I don't know why you can't complete the Grand National. Or nobody expects a thoroughbred horse to be able to survive on a Scottish mountainside. They're different, and they're built for different things. Their origin is different, and we're the same. So for me, it's like today I hit my personal best at deadlifting. I lifted 87.5 kilos. And I'm 58 years old. Now, I'm never going to be, you know, sort of slender and bendy, and, you know, it's just not me. I'm not built for that. I'm not. But, you know, if you want a field ploughed and you just want to give me a crust of bread to do that in, that's what I can do. You know, I'm very rarely ill. I can survive, and that's what acceptance is about, and that's what I work to. I have a trainer who, he doesn't try and make me into something I'm not. He accepts that that's what I'm good at. He doesn't try and suggest that I should, you know, and I'm trying to, you know, the health thing is real. I'm trying to lose weight, but I'm trying to do it from a position of love, not penalty. So I'm watching my calories to a sensible degree, but I also accept that in lockdown it's not easy time, you know, that you know, be kind to yourself about it. But and also when you are thinking about food and nutrition and trying to be as healthy as you can, do it from a position of love, not from a position of punishment, that, you know, you need to punish yourself until you become this mythical creature that the media or whoever tells us that we should be. We are enough in ourselves, of ourselves.
I agree. And I was just wondering, like, listening to you, what was it that finally got you to hear that message?
Gosh, to really, really hear it, I do think that the message about you're not broken, you're enough, that was the final thing. And realizing I didn't need to find another diet plan or take some different supplements or to this, that, and the other. It was all I had to do was just turn around and see what I already had. And it was that message, and that's why the 3 principles things was really powerful, and kind of understanding that paradigm is that, and all these thoughts that we have, and about the external message of, well, you need to be different. No, we don't need to be different. We're enough as we are. And that's, and you know, as I say, it's not that I don't need to, health wise, I do need to lose weight because I'm too heavy. But that's okay, you know, and I don't have to do it right now. It's a journey. I can do that as there's that lovely thing, isn't there, from Alan Watts about life isn't a destination, it's a journey. And it's like a piece of music. You know, it's the idea is not to get through the piece of music as fast as possible. The idea is to enjoy it. And that's what I think that life is about too.
Oh gosh, I agree with that. And I think really resonate with rushing,
Yes.
never appreciating. And I think part of that rushing was about not feeling as well.
You know what was really strange? So when I lost that 4 stone, I got down to a size 12, and actually it was easy. A couple of things was at the time I was on a career break, so I wasn't having to struggle a really stressful job with that, so I could actually relax and think about it and do it. But do you know, I'd actually arrived at where I wanted to be and I didn't know it. I look back at photographs now and I still wasn't happy with the way that I looked. I didn't feel that I'd actually succeeded. I was still driving myself to no, there must be more, there must be more. Why couldn't I just accept it that actually I'd done what I needed to be? I still had some form of dysmorphia about it. And that's what I think is so sad about the rushing and the, you know, we've got to rush and get on and achieve and do things, is we don't appreciate what we actually have. And maybe we're here already, you know.
Well, I think we are here already. And I think that just reminds me as well of the teddy bear analogy that I use often, which is, you know, when we cuddle a teddy bear or a blanket when we're little, we think it's the teddy bear or the blanket that's giving us the feelings of safety and okayness. But of course, it's never coming from the teddy bear or blanket, it's coming from within us. And when we replace as adults, you know, the teddy bear with adult substitutes, weight is one of those things, or money, which is why when we get to our quote unquote goal weight that we've made up, or goal size that we've made up as acceptable, when we get there, the experience is, well, no, I need to
yeah,
there's more, because we're always looking in the wrong place. So I love that you heard that you were enough as you are, and you're always going to be enough.
It was like someone pulled the curtain back and it's like, oh.
You had it all along, Glenda the witch. I'm Glenda the witch, you're Dorothy.
Yeah, yes, it is. It's all you had to do. So, yeah.
Well, I'm mindful of time, and I'm going to close it down there. So, is there anything else you'd like to say or like to add to end this?
Just I have recommended your group and your teaching to people who, particularly people who are anxious, because anxiety is anxiety is a double-edged sword, because I recognize in myself, people don't recognize me as anxious. That's not what people think of me when they meet me. But it's the anxiety on a good day is a driving force behind a lot of stuff that I do well. But unchecked, uncontrolled, it's horrible, because it just means everything spirals out of control. Yeah. And I think that if somebody is generally feeling broken, or feeling that there's something wrong with them, or feeling anxious, then I think that your group is great. And I think there are some ladies in there who are a tremendous source of support, and that's very much appreciated.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you for saying that. And as someone who suffered with chronic anxiety, I really know that. I know the covering up, I know the denial, I know the fear of being found out. I know all of it. So
but you're so able. I think that's what makes you great in the way that you present yourself, is you're so able to articulate it. And then it's when you articulate it, you realize that you're because when we're with our broken feelings, we feel like we're the only one, and it's so isolating to feel that everyone else is fine it's just me. I can't cope. I can't do it. And actually to know that you're not alone, that there is support out there, and you know, and that feeling of brokenness exhibits itself in many ways, doesn't it, with people, that it's not all the same presenting problem, but underneath it all, it comes from the same fear of inadequacy. And yeah.
And so for some people it presents as anxiety, for some people it presents as depression, for some people it presents as overworking. Habits come into play because we are trying to manage those
what you taught me about habits is extraordinary, like where they come from and what they are, and then you sort of think, oh. And the other thing, oh, that's it, one thing I must say that I've actually written it in my phone, is what your talk on motivation. There are people who've written books about motivation, and you just said, you don't need to read a book about motivation. You know, the hard thing, just do it. Don't think about it, just to, and I use that a lot. You just stop thinking about it, do it. So there we go.
It's really unfortunate, isn't it, that it's that simple, because it's the thinking about it that causes the procrastination, that causes the sort of the heaviness around it. So when we can spend days, hours not doing anything, and actually all we need to do is just do it.
Yeah. Not even a book, can't even sell it.
I know, just do it. Oh my gosh, Nike took that, damn it.
Yeah.
Well, that's brilliant. Steph, thank you very much. What I'm going to do is I'm going to close it. I'm going to stop recording and take it off of Facebook. So you just stay there. But I just want to thank everyone who's listening and everyone who's commented on the Facebook group. Thank you very much. And if you watch this later, I hope you get something from it and our lovely Steph. And we will maybe talk to you soon on either the podcast or the group. So thank you very much.
Okay, take care.
Bye.
Bye.